All right, this is the little pump housing I made for it. Super cheap. I also made a video on that and how I made it. I'll give it a little shot at what it looks like in here. There it is, still running. I haven't shut it off since I've installed it. Still got the cooling fan here, keeping everything nice and cool on the inside. This cheap tote is keeping it out of the weather, and could be more happy with it so far. All right, so we got the housing here, and I actually buried the line all the way down to the pond edge. And then underwater, it's a self-sinking hose. It goes all the way out to right there. So you can see the pond aerator down there. Let's go down here and take a closer look, and I'm gonna talk about some of the things that's happened since I've installed it. All right, we're down here at the pond edge, and the pond has never looked better. And it's been like this pretty much ever since I put the aerator on. It took a little while for everything to work, but man, this thing is kicking butt. Let me zoom into the bubbles the aerator is making. It makes a massive amount of bubbles, and you see out there I've got a duck decoy on there. I've tied it to a rope down to the diaphragm. That way if I need to work on it, I can pull it up. But this has been running non-stop 24/7, and it's been doing a great job. All right, so I know that pond aeration alone isn't just the key, but it's part of a huge process. The pond aeration, in combination with dyeing the pond, beneficial bacteria, and the aeration, all work together for just the perfect mixture of health for a pond. I had a major algae bloom on this pond, and that's usually from a high nutrient level. And you get these high nutrient levels over years and years of grass and fish decay and fish poop and leaves that fall from the trees. All that stuff goes in your pond and sits at the bottom. Well, where the issue is there's usually bacteria in your pond that actually decompose the stuff. Just think of like your septic system. There's a reason why they put aeration in your septic systems, because there's certain bacteria that need oxygen. You got anaerobic and aerobic bacteria. Anaerobic means without oxygen. Aerobic means with oxygen. So you've got these aerobic bacteria that need oxygen. Well, in a pond in the summertime, when it's really, really hot, it stratifies. So you have the top portion of your pond that has oxygen-rich water, and at the bottom it's usually low or no oxygen. And your fish usually hang out in the top portion. Well, where aeration comes in and I'm talking about subsurface aeration, not a fountain. Fountains look really pretty. They can aerate the top portion of your water that's already aerated, but subsurface aeration blows bubbles from the bottom and raises it up to the top. And that actually causes like a big draft. So it causes this huge circulation of water and increases the dissolved oxygen levels. Well, when you add beneficial bacteria to the pond, you have just added the bacteria that the pond needs to decompose all of that dying material that has been built up over years that causes algae blooms and lots of other problems. So the aeration in combination with beneficial bacteria helps increase those bacteria to help eat those decaying things, which gives the algae no nutrients to grow. So that's part of the process. And another benefit to having a pond aerator is, we were just talking about some of the stratification. Well, the fish like to hang out where the oxygen is. So what you end up seeing is the fish start to use all of the pond area. They will use the bottom, they use the top, they use all the edges. And I've noticed lots of higher fish activity levels. I'm seeing bass blowing up on the water way more than I ever have before. It also lowers the risk of a pond turnover. And a pond turnover happens when you have that stratifying water from all the heat, and a cold front comes through or a rainstorm comes through and just turns the water over. And what happens is that oxygen-rich water mixes down below where the deoxygenated water is, or unoxygenated water is, and the fish have no idea that it's happening. They're swimming around and all of a sudden there's no oxygen. And the first fish to suffer are the larger fish, unfortunately. They have the largest oxygen demand because they're such a large fish. So you'll see most of your fish kills happen when those pond turnovers happen. Well, when you have a subsurface pond aerator, you get rid of that because all of the water is constantly turned and your oxygen-rich water is everywhere in your pond. So those are some things that you can look at when you're doing a pond. If you're wanting good fish habitat, you want good fish oxygen levels, you want fish to grow really well, get a subsurface aerator, do some research on how many acres you have and and how many aerators you need. If you don't have electricity out there, you could do solar. If this video helped you out at all, I know I kind of rambled a lot. There was a lot of information, but that's what I had to do. I had to get on the internet and find out how the heck to handle the algae problem because my pond just looks so bad. But man, now I've got this beautiful setting out here. I mean, look at this. Amazing. I love it. I sit out here with coffee in the morning, enjoy nature. I don't have to look at all these nasty algae blooms on the top. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video.